Welcome to War Thunder with Subdued. Flying the A-6E TRAM. I bought this so that you don't have to. This is a dev server. And let me tell you, this is not a very good plane. It's a unique plane. It is the only unique plane we're getting as a premium this time. It's one of the best night bombers in the United States Navy arsenal from the Vietnam War. And Grenada and Panama and Desert Storm 1 or Gulf 1, and also Kosovo and a bunch of other places where the United States stuck its nose in. The Intruder is an all-weather attack aircraft. And as an all-weather attack aircraft, it generally is loaded with many munitions. And it uses a ground search radar to find the targets and the topography that it's flying over to match to a map, which is why it does its best work at night when fighters of the time, Soviet fighters, were mostly ground control intercept. They didn't have air search radars or anything like that. And as you can see, this doesn't have a really great roll rate. But the A7 is a good plane, or the A6 is a good plane. Thankfully, they've given it the AIM-9Ls, which you will see I use to great effect in this match. But it was like I said in another video, it's got 4 pylons and 1 underneath the belly. You can't put a gun underneath the belly. And if you take a gun, you lose a missile. If you lose a missile, you reduce your firepower. And the same goes for when you're doing the bomb run. If you take missiles, you reduce the number of bombs that you can carry. Now, somebody's going to be going, bomber. You're right, it's a bomber. I'm flying it like a support fighter right now. And it's a tough plane to get around on. And now I am completely unarmed. Taken down 4 aircraft because I've got superior missiles and their AI. In a air realistic battle on the live server, this thing would be massacred. It's slow, it's ill maneuvering, and it just isn't up to the par of being in an air-to-air battle. Now you'll get a couple of strikes in. You just saw me kill 4 planes. And in a furball, just about anything is possible. You could see an I-16 taking down a F-14. You can see an I-16 taking down an F-16. But as far as this plane goes, in realistic battles, it's not going to be a lot of fun. Even the long distance maps, it's not going to be a lot of fun. The enduring confrontation maps, because it's not fast. And people will hunt you down. Like I said, I got this plane so you don't have to. I'm not saying you can't buy it. Matter of fact, if you got the money and you want to buy it, go right ahead. There is nothing wrong with you spending your money the way you want to spend it. $70 US, $100 Canadian. I have no idea what it is Australian. And 70 euros. And if you happen to be a Russian listening to this, whatever it is in rubles, it's going to be exorbitant. It's not a bad plane for what it does. It's a bad plane for being at 10.0 and costing $70. If it was a notch lower or 2 notches lower, 9.3, 9.7, I would say it's a steal at $50. But it's not at $50. And it's not at 9.3 or 9.7. It's at 10.0, which means it will see 11.0s. Now, it'll probably get more down tiers than up tiers. And the reason that will happen is because everybody and their half-brother is going to be going, my MiG-29, my F-16. Me, I'll be doing my Tornado. I do like the Tornado. They've got a lot of work to do on it, but yeah, that's another story altogether. This plane, it's good. For what? I'm still not sure. For base bombing, the equipment of 2 sidewinders and 7 1,000-pounders, well, you drop 5 on one base and then you can drop 2 on another. They'll do the job. But one of the problems is getting into a place where you're actually going after the bases. You're not fast, and you're at a level where speed counts. The Navy decided that they did not need supersonic, and I agree with them. But you need air superiority in the area that you're going to be doing work. If you do not have air superiority, you can end up That was a player, by the way. Well, that's always nice. It just makes no sense at its price point and capability. Now, if we had the follow-on version of the A-6E, and I can't remember what the 4-letter designation is, but it was designed to deal with guided munitions much more. This one's got guided bombs, and that's it. It doesn't have Mavericks, it doesn't have walleyes, it doesn't have harpoons, it doesn't have this, that, and the other thing. But the follow-on version could handle all the guided weapons. And hopefully what Gaijin's going to do in the distant future, and I say distant in a sarcastic way, is provide us with the follow-on A-6E. And the reason I want the follow-on is because this plane is good at what it does, but the follow-on is a much better platform for ground attack. And I say that in the terms of for ground battles, because it will be able to carry the Maverick, the walleye, it can carry anti-shipping missiles, a harpoon. It could carry the standoff land attack missile, the Slammer, which is a version of the harpoon designed for ground, attacking ground targets rather than naval targets. It could carry the AGM-88 Harm. It could carry the AGM-45 Shrike. carried all sorts of different weapons, including cluster munitions. This plane should be able to carry cluster munitions, but they're not giving us cluster munitions. That would be absolutely spectacular if they gave us cluster munitions. Cluster munitions would turn this into a ground attack nightmare. You thought the Su-25 was a nightmare? And the A-10A? This thing would be a... Excuse me, knock it off. This thing would be an absolute monster with cluster bombs. 288 bomblets dropping across a column. Or a... what would you call that? A capture zone. And they're armor-piercing bomblets. They're designed to go, attack the top of tanks. And I don't care if you've got an active protection system. You can't kill all of them. And this plane could drop them from altitude. And this plane could fire Mavericks and all those good weapons from altitude. And we're getting to the point where we're going to need anti-radiation missiles. The AGM-88 HARM, the AGM-45 Shrike, Gaijin is advancing. We've got a helmet-mounted display for firing Russian heat seekers. We don't have that for the Americans. What we need is an anti-radiation missile for the Americans. And the reason I say that is because there's more than enough information on Wikipedia to make sure that weapons like that can be implemented into the game without completely shattering the game and without breaching confidentiality and secrets of the nation. I mean, I've looked at the AGM-45 information on Wikipedia, and it tells you the bandwidths and everything of the various missiles. And it tells you which ones you can carry. Well, there's two different versions of each of the missiles. You've got one that can fire for about 16 kilometers and one that can fire for 40 kilometers, and that's the AGM-45. The HARM can fire at a much greater distance. I believe it's 100 kilometers. Now, the downfall of the HARM and the Shrike are the ability of the broadcasting radar to shut down and move. If the radar shuts down, they just gonna go ballistic to their last known position. And if the radar moves, after it shuts down, it moves, well, they're safe. Unless they start up their radar again, at which point the missile will go, oh, you move over there, and it will turn and come for it. Now this is getting interesting. There are missile after missile after missile after missile going off, and I was like, I don't want to get into the middle of that. And then I realized they were all shooting off to the right. And I said, okay, we'll come in after the SU-7. And do a belly run across the airfield. That was a glitch on the part of the dev server. It was fun. It was glorious. But this plane is not worth $70. It is not worth 10.0. It is a good 9.7 plane at $50. But if you want to spend the $70, please feel free, be my guest, purchase that plane. And if they will make more enduring confrontation maps, it will be more fun to play with planes like this than it will be on the medium and small maps that we are currently sentenced to, and the sentencing is absolutely horrible. I know there's players out there that just don't like having to put up with playing on maps that are so big because they want their instant gratification and go play arcade. I'm not saying arcade is bad. I'm just saying go play arcade if you need instant gratification. I prefer to take my time and enjoy my flying. I've been on a couple of arcade maps. I was just on one during this dev server with an F4 Phantom. Oh, gee. Oh, gee. What horrible flight models. And this was an F4F Phantom. The German late or early. Yeah, the F4F early. And the flight model was just absolutely borked. It was terrible. The plane flopped and twitched, and I couldn't believe it. But this plane, in Air Realistic, if it's not on one of the Enduring Confrontation maps, you're not going to have fun. You're slow. You've only got, 60 countermeasures? Yeah, 60 countermeasures. And at 10.0, luckily you won't see the MiG-29, but You could see the Su-17. You could see the MiG-27M. You could see the MiG-21s, MiG-23M, Su-17M4. Su-17M4's got R-60Ms. He can in your face just as much as you can in his face if you're carrying sidewinders. Luckily, you won't see this, you won't see this, and you won't see this. But you can see the Su-7s, MiG-19s, MiG-21s, Yak-38s, Su-25s, which you'll probably see a lot of, and other planes that you won't be able to touch. Bombers that are going to be up high and not wanting to engage, unless their players are slightly demented. By the way, best camo for the MiG-29. I like colorful. It helps me with my orientation. You're going to run into a lot of different planes. MiG-21 MF. You're going to run into that. MiG-21 BIS. The MiG-21 BIS Lazur M. You'll run into the Su-22. The F-4F early. The F-4F late. MiG-23 BN. Although that isn't really that big of a threat other than guns. I'm going to leave it at that. This Subdude signing out. Y'all have a pleasant today, a better tomorrow. We'll catch you in the sky in air realistic on the good maps. I know I said I wasn't going to buy the A-6E TRAM, but it's a unique aircraft in the game at the moment, and I wanted the unique aircraft. Call me a hypocrite if you want. This Subdude signing out.